We are up to Daf Nun Gimel Amid Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. So today's sugya, today's daf, just the forecast of it, it's all drushes. It's not hard, it's just drushes. It's all just drushes in the pasuk. It's not much cheshbon. So the Gemara said like this, the Mishnah said, Nafal ataycha shar v'keilav v'nishtabra. The Mishnah said that you're chayiv if an animal gets hurt or dies in a pit, but you're not chayiv if kelim get destroyed in a pit. So it's all just going to be drushes. Says the Gemara, Masis and like Rav Yehuda. Our Mishnah, which says you are not chayiv for kalim in a bar, is not like Rav Yehuda, because Rav Yehuda disagrees with our Mishnah. Rav Yehuda holds that you are chayiv for kalim in a bar. Not chayiv. Not chayiv. Only an animal getting hurt or dying, not kalim. So it means that if a donkey has kalim on its back and it falls in, you'll have to pay for the donkey. You're not chayiv. But Rav Yehuda holds you are. The Tanya, Rav Yehuda mechayiv on nizke kelim bar. Rav Yehuda holds you chayiv for kelim in a bar. So it's machlokes Rav Yehuda in our Mishnah. My time of the Rabbanon. What's the reason for our Mishnah? It says you're potter. To Amar Kra, because the pasuk says v'nafal shama shar oy chamar. The pasuk says that what falls into the pit is a shar oy chamar, a donkey or an ox. Shar v'loy adam. Shar, an ox, and not people. You're not chayiv for kaifer. If a person falls into a bar and dies, you are not chayiv for kaifer. We're a few lines from the bottom. Daf Nun Gimel Beis. So, shar is v'loy adam. You're not chayiv if a person dies in a pit. You're not chayiv to pay kaifer. Shar v'loy adam. Chamar v'loy kelim. And a donkey. I have one over here. Chamar v'loy kelim. And a shar v'loy adam and chamar v'loy kelim. The pasuk specifically exempts. It's exeris hakosiv that you're potter from kelim. Okay. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda, how does he learn out that you're chayiv in kelim? Oy is l'rabis as a kelim. He uses the word oy or to include kelim. Okay. For Rabbanon, the Rabbanon will feel that you're potter from kelim. What do they do with the word oy? Oy miboyle l'chalik. The word oy to them is to tell you not that you're chayav on kelim, but that you don't need a shar and a chamar. It's a shar or a chamar. Meaning, if not for the word oy, the beginning of Nidalid, if not for the word oy, I would think that it has to be a donkey and an ox. Shar oy chamar tells you either or. Rav Yehuda, how does Rav Yehuda know that you're not chayiv, that you don't need a shar and a donkey? Because he uses the word oy to tell you that you're chayiv on kelim. So how does he know that you're chayiv even on a donkey or an ox, but you don't need both together? The pasuk says nafal, l'chalik min nafal, right? Nafal means fall. Nafal is singular. So it doesn't have to be a donkey and an ox. Nafal is singular, even if one animal.
So
What?
Rabbi Yehuda holds that the kelim not mechuyev.
No, chayiv on kelim. Rabbi Yehuda is mechayiv on kelim. The chacham are the point of pater. For the Rabbanon, how do they learn out the word nafal? Meaning, Rabbi Yehuda learns out that it's shar oy chamor. It doesn't have to be both. It could be chayiv even on one animal. You don't need a donkey and an ox. If just a donkey falls in your chayiv. Why? Because nafal is singular. I'm sorry. Nafal is singular. The Rabbanon learn out from oy. Why don't they learn out from nafal? Nafal tuva mashra. Nafal can mean plural. It's machlokes. The word nafal, does that mean a single item falls in or multiple item falls in? So if you hold that it means multiple items fall in, therefore it's not indicative that that it has to be a shar or a chamar. Therefore the word oy teaches you either or. Okay. Now here's the question. Everyone agrees, though, that it doesn't have to be a shar and a chamar, right? Donkey and an ox, let's say a dog falls in Yechayev, right? Everyone agrees it's all animals. Why doesn't, this is today, a lot of today's daf is, why don't you make a klal and a prat and a klal and a prat to klal and that type of thing? Ve'ema, why don't you say this? V'nafal is klal, right? V'nafal is a general term, anything falls in. Shar v'chamar is prat. Shar v'chamar are specifications. So why don't you say a klal and a prat? If you have a generalization and then in specification, the rule is ein mechlal mashra v'prat. You go with the specification. If you just have a generalization, then a specification, you go with the specification. That's the rule. Chlal u'prat ein mechlal mashra v'prat. Meaning, so if the pasuk says v'nafal, which is inclusive, and then it says shar and chamar, why don't we say it has to be a shar and a chamar? You're not chayiv if a dog, a cat, whatever. It has to be a donkey or an ox. Ein mechlal mashra v'prat shar v'chamar in midi achrin aloi. Why don't you say that? So how do you know you're chayiv on other animals? It says shar v'chamar. How do you know to include other animals? So the Gemara says, Bal habar yishalim chazar v'kolal. It's not a klal and a prat. It's a klal and a prat and a klal. Because the words at the end of the pasuk is Baal Habar Yishalem, which is an inclusive line. So it's a generalization, a specification, back to generalization. Klalu pratu klal, ein b'chlal klal pratu klal, yatadanechin prat. The rule is when it's a klal and a prat and then a klal, you go with the generalization, but it has to be similar to the specification. So it's very inclusive, but it's somewhat limiting. How so? Maha prat mefurish bali chayim. So it includes all animals, but the specification, shar v'chamar, tells you that it has to be an animal. Meaning, if not for the words, so it's a generalization, specification, generalization that teaches you in general, so inclusive of damages, but it has to be like the specification, it has to be a bali chayim, av kol bali chayim. Therefore, you're only chayiv for animals, not for kalim. Basically, so we're learning out that it has to be like shar v'chamar, only in regards that it has to be an animal. But
Rabbi, you don't say the rabbis is only Kalim, not Adam.
I guess so.
Adam just gets chopped off.
Well, we're going to get to that at the end. It's a shtickle problem according to Rabbi Yehuda. But anyway, so the point is, klal pratu klal, that it's inclusive. It's like the shar v'chamar in that it has to be animals, but it's inclusive of all animals. It doesn't have to just be a shar v'chamar, it's all animals. Here's the question though. Imaha prat meforish davar shenivlasa metama b'magu masa, av kol davar shemetama b'magu masa, av aloifus loy. Maybe, I agree with you, it should be inclusive of animals, but not all animals. Maybe all animals have to be similar to a shar and a chamar. Shar and a chamar are behemoths, yeah? One of the rules of a behemoth is that the dead bodies cause contamination. It's a nevela. There's a tumah of a nevela. There's no tumah of a dead bird. Dead birds are not matama. Dead non-kosher birds are never matama. You could touch them. It's no tumah. Dead kosher birds are only matama if you swallow it. But there's no tumah of touching. You could touch a dead bird. So maybe it should be shar v'chamar. You're only chayiv on chiyuvei bar if it's like shar v'chamar, meaning it's inclusive of other animals, but it's exclusive of birds. So it has to be shar v'chamar and not birds, maybe. So maybe you should not be chayiv if a bird gets hurt in a pit. So the Gemara says, Imke no, nichtav rachman echad prata. I'll tell you why. If the pasuk was just trying to exclude birds, it would just say shar or a chamar. It wouldn't say both. Pick one. Meaning, the pasuk is picking an example. Why does the pasuk have to pick any example? Because the pasuk doesn't want you to think that you're chayiv for kalim, you're chayiv for people. The pasuk wants you to understand it's got to be animals only. It says shar v'chamar. So Gemara says, well, if it's animals, maybe it's to exclude birds. If it meant to exclude birds, just pick one. Just write shar, or just write chamar. The fact that it says both, it's saying, listen, you're not chayiv on everything, but a little bit inclusive of birds as well. So how I know that it's inclusive of birds is because it picked two examples, shar and the chamar. And it could have just gone with one. The Gemara says, wait a minute, maybe it couldn't have gone with one. Why?
One's kosher, one's not kosher.
Yeah, but more than that. In that line, along those lines, if it would have picked one, shar and chamar have specific halachas that apply to them that don't apply to the other. Meaning, the Gemara says, Hi Nichtav, which one did you want us to write? You're saying the Torah could have written one example, shar or a chamar. It didn't have to say both. The fact that it picked both is to include birds. It couldn't have written one. Why? If it just written which one? If it just wrote shar, hava mina krav gam mizbeach in shin krav mizbeach loy. I would say, like my father said, maybe a shar is only inclusive of kosher animals, things that could be brought on the mizbeach. But a chamar, which cannot be brought on the mizbeach, it wouldn't be included. And if it just written chamar, I would say maybe a chamar is unique because there's a concept called peter chamar. Right? You have to redeem a firstborn donkey, which you don't have to do for an ox. So if it would have written one, I wouldn't have even been able to include the other example. So maybe it wrote shar v'chamar not to include birds, but because it had to write shar and chamar. The Gemara says, because of Rachman HaChamar, have amina kaddish b'chari in shekaddish b'chari loy. Meaning, so how do I know to include birds? And don't tell me because the pasuk uses shar and chamar as like multiple examples, and it could have written one. It could not have written one. You need both of those. So how do you know to include dead birds or hurt birds in a bar? The answer is Ella Amar Kra b'hamesi aloi. Called up Misa. The pasuk says that by a bar, hamesi aloi, you keep the carcass, which includes anything that has a carcass. Okay. Fine.
Birds have a carcass?
There's a carcass. I mean, there's a carcass. Yeah, it's anything that has death, anything that dies. Here's a kasha though. Bein l'Rabbanan kamaylu kelim, bein l'Rav Yehuda kamarvilu kelim, kelim b'nei misa nenu. The Rabbanan say there's a special. The Rabbanan and the Rav Yehuda argue of whether kelim are chayiv in a bar. The pasuk describes a bar as panopti as hamesi aloi. Mace implies death. What? The Rabbanan are like, I have a special pasuk to exclude kelim. Rav Yehuda says, no, I have a special pasuk to include kelim. The parsha is talking about death. Kelim don't die. Meaning, why would the Rabbanan even need a pasuk to exclude kelim? The pasuk says hamesi aloi. There's no misa by a bottle of wine. The answer is a bottle breaking is misa. When a bottle breaks, that's misa. Meaning, when the pasuk says hamesi aloi, I could actually think it's including kelim. How kelim don't die? The answer is when kelim break, that's a death. The answer is Amri shvirasan zu misasan. Breaking a kli is the kli's death. Therefore, I might think that kelim is inclusive. Comes the pasuk no, or Rabbi Yehuda holds that kelim are inclusive. The pasuk mesi aloi. Breaking a kli is its death. That itself.
We're saying he's getting because there's some value to it. The hamesi aloi is value.
No, it's just saying that the words hamesi aloi could include inanimate objects. How do they die? The answer is they die by breaking.
Yeah, but the concept of the pasuk is that he's getting some value there. Broken shards.
You could sell them for parts, scraps, I guess. Ularav damar bar shechayv lev Torah lehavol v'lo lechavot bein l'Rabbanan bein l'Rav Yehuda kelim b'nei havolin. And one more kasha. It's a good kasha. According to Rav, what's the ikar chiyuv of a bar? The foul odor, foul air, the smoke thing, whatever that is. Kelim can be affected by air. Right? The Rabbanan are like, they have a special pasuk to exclude kelim. If the whole chiyuv is because of foul air, what do you need a pasuk for? And the Rav Yehuda includes kelim. If the whole chiyuv is foul air, then the answer is Amri bechadati. We're talking about new earthenware utensils that were never put in a kiln, demivki mehavala, because they could burst from foul air.
Okay.
I've never seen
What's
kelim.
that bad air there?
Yeah, I don't know what the air was like 2,000 years ago. Right. Okay, I have no idea. I have no idea. Like 10 tvachim. But again, I don't know what the ground was like back then. Let's keep going. Okay, right now, if I were to ask you, it sounds such like a Rabbi, if a guy were to come to meet you on the street and say, how do you know? That's the way you talk. If you right now, if you were just a chazer, how do you know that you're chayiv on birds also and all other animals? Because it says shar and chamar, it says v'hamesi alo. Anything that dies. The problem is, we said yesterday, hamesi alo is to exclude karbanis that became invalidated, right? If you remember, if you have a carbon that became puzzle and then you redeem it and it goes back into your flock and it falls into a pit, I don't have to pay. Why? Because the pasuk says hamesi aloi, which means that after the animal dies, you keep the carcass and do with it whichever you please, which excludes psule karbanos, because the halacha is that after a carbon becomes puzzle, you can't do with the carcass that whichever you please. There are certain halachas, there are certain kedusha, and there's certain restrictions that are extended to the animal's carcass. You can't just sell it in the street. You can't cut it up. You can't skin it in public. There are limitations. So the pasuk says about Mesi Eloi, which is do whatever you want, is excluding a carbon. It's excluding a puzzle carbon. So how could you say V'amesi Eloi? How could you say V'amesi Eloi is to include dead birds? I thought V'amesi Eloi is to exclude puzzle carbonates from being chayv in a bar. Hi V'amesi Eloi me'bai look at the Rava. Don't we use it for Rava? Damar Rava. Rava said yesterday, Shal psul me'kedash shenavel bar. If you have a carbon that was disqualified, that was redeemed, and then it fell into a pit and was killed, potter. The owner of the pit does not have to pay. Shenemar V'amesi Eloi, because the pasuk says the owner of the damaged party keeps the carcass and does with it whichever they please. Which implies that it only applies, the parsha only applies to a carcass. You can do whatever you want. As opposed to this carcass, which has restrictions. So how could you say V'amesi Eloi is to include birds? I thought it's to exclude psulei karbanos. The Gemara says, good taina. It's a good taina. Ella Amarkar, you're right. How I know to include birds is not from Amesi Eloi. It's Amar Kra, Kesef Yoshev Labalav. The pasuk says the owner of the pit should pay, which implies that you should pay for any damages, even birds. L'Rabbis called this Bailam. It's to pay for any damages. Oh, wait a minute. If it's to include any damages, then why not include Kalim? Right? Yeah. Kesav Yashav Labalav means that you have to pay the owners for the restitution for what you did wrong. That includes donkeys, that includes birds, dogs, v'chule. So then why not include Kalim? Ihachi afilu Kalim v'adam nami, right? Then include Kalim and include people. To that we have the drushes, Amakra, Shar v'layodam, Chamar v'laykalim. That's why we have those drushes to exclude that. So Kesav Yashal Abalav is inclusive of everything, birds, dogs, everything, whatever, all zoo animals. And then it should include Kalim and people. That, you have the other drushes, Shar v'layodam, Chamar v'laykalim. One more problem. Ulu Rabbi Yehuda, the Kamar bilu Kalim. Here's the deal. It says the word Shar and Chamar. Shar and not Adam, Chamar velo Kalim. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Kalim are chayiv. He has an extra word. And strangely enough, the Gemara says, you're right, it's extra. Meaning, we do not know what Rabbi Yehuda does with this word. Which is strange just because usually that's like an easy, but he used it for this. Sorry, I don't know. The Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda, the Kamar bilu Kalim, Bishlem Shar Ma'ilei Adam, L'Chamar Ma'ilei. What does he do with the word Chamar? Because we use Chamar velo Kalim. What does he use Chamar for? Elama Rava. Chamar debar l'Rav Yehuda, v'sed aved l'divrei hakol kasha. So Rava says, the truth is, what Rabbi Yehuda does with the word Chamar, we don't understand, and what everyone does with the word seh by a lost object, this we'll get to later on. This is like in 20 daf, and they'll deal with like lost objects a little bit. And basically the Gemara is going to address that the word seh, that it says, I think if you lost a chamare seh, I don't know if there is that possible, but it lists a seh, a lamb, as one of the lost examples of lost object. The Gemara asks, why does the pasuk have to use that as an example? Because we're going to see in the next Amid, it doesn't have to be a lamb, you have to return all lost objects. And the Gemara says, don't know. So Rava says, what Rabbi Yehuda does with the word chamar, and what everyone does with the word seh, kasha. I don't know. Okay. Okay, let me explain outside what we're going to see, and then we'll do it inside. The way I read the Mishnah, which obviously is the conclusion of the Gemara, is that the Mishnah says that if a donkey, a cherish, a deaf, deranged, small, young donkey falls into a pit, you're chayiv. That's all it says. Well, the Gemara will go through sort of like a back and forth.
No. It's talking about different things, not on one.
No, chamar, cherish, or a shaita, or you're chayiv. First, the Gemara want to know, is it that it's owned by a cherish, shaita, v'katan? No, it's the actual donkey itself. The donkey is a cherish, the donkey is a shaita, the donkey is a katan. The Gemara says, so I'm chayiv if the donkey is an idiot. But if the donkey's smart, then I'm potter? The Gemara says, it doesn't make any sense. The Gemara says, no, you're chayiv by both. Then why? The Gemara's conclusion, that's going to be the whole tug of war. The Gemara's conclusion is going to be that I'm only chayiv if the donkey is stupid. If the donkey's taka smart and healthy, I'm not chayiv. Why? Because it should have looked.
For the born of Rishus.
Correct.
Wait, donkeys are stupid?
No, they know what. The point is, their natural instincts of animals not to fall into a pit.
And a cherish donkey is...
It doesn't. It's not. It has no ability to know if it's or surroundings. The point is, the Gemara is going to explain that it's dafka cherushayte v'katan. That's a shar cherushayte v'katan. That's chayiv. But if the shar was healthy and normal and smart and just walked straight into that pit, I'm not responsible because the donkey should have seen.
Did we ever learn a case where cherushayte v'katan is not referring to a human being?
It is the first one for me, but I guess it's the only time that we really have had that responsibilities of an animal. But
I think.
Yeah.
No, I'm just clarifying. If an Adam falls in, potter.
If an Adam falls in, your potter, you're correct. But that's from Xeris HaKasav. You're saying that why didn't Xeris... No, the Xeris HaKasav is a good point. According to this conclusion, probably the Xeris HaKasav would exclude even a dumb person or even a Cherushayt V'katan is still potter. Meaning, you're asking Akasha, what do you need to exclude an Adam for? They shouldn't be walking in. The answer is, even if it's at night or even if it's a Cherushayt V'katan, you're still potter by an Adam. That's what was Xeris HaKasav. Let's see it inside.
That's going to Rabbi Yehuda.
No, that's everybody.
Are we saying it domesticated?
Adam is Kul Yam. Machlokes is by Kalim.
So when we're saying this with a clever donkey,
Oh, that's
it's a
right.
domesticated animal, like a trained...
If an animal is clever and normal and healthy, and it just walks right into the pit, that's on the animal. It's not on me.
Like, a trained dog is not going to be...
Correct. That's why you had the case of the Mishnah. What if someone was drilling a hole and it freaked out, and then fine? Or if it got stung by a bee and then it freaked out, that's a different story. But if it's just healthy, just walks right in. That's
So the kalim is the machlokes between
correct.
Yehuda and Chachamim.
Adam is the kuli alma potter.
Is potter.
Kuli alma.
If you break your head walking into a
Potter, you don't have to pay. Again, maybe do you have to pay for Nezek or Pashas? No, potter.
make a hole in the ground, you don't have to pay.
Again, you have to understand. I should probably make this clear. I'm sure in the times of Chazal they would hit you with lashes, and I'm sure that the Bezdin could do whatever they want rabbinically if they feel like you're not acting appropriately. But we're talking about biblical concept. Biblically, I'm positive. Again, the Chazal have Hefker Bezdin Hefker. They could do whatever they want. They could penalize you. They could make taxes, and I'm sure they did. I'm sure that if people were digging holes in Rosh Hashanah, they probably levied them with big taxes. Okay. Let's go back to my shar chereshet v'katan. What does it mean a shar chereshet v'katan? Is it again the two options? Is it that the donkey itself is a chereshet v'katan, or the donkey is owned by a chereshet v'katan? Ilay mishar shel chereshet shel shaita shel katan. Now you'll say, Pashim Shat, like my father said, we've never had a reference of a chereshet v'katan of the ox itself. So it means owned by a chereshet v'katan. Here's the problem. That implies that I'm only chayiv if the donkey is owned by a cheresh, but if the donkey is owned by a healthy person, I'm potter. It doesn't make any sense. Now you're telling me I'm not chayiv for animals falling into a pit. Hashar shall be kech potter? No way. Ella amrav yechanan shar shu cheresh, shar shu shaita, shar shu katan. Go to the next page. Rather, it means no. The donkey itself is a cheresh v'katan. Oh. Wait a minute, that implies Haishar shu bikech. That means that if it's a healthy, smart animal, I'm potter. I don't have to pay. I'm only chayiv if the donkey is a chereshet v'katan. But if the donkey is regular, healthy, I'm potter. It's counterintuitive. Again, the Gemara eventually will explain that it makes sense, but right now it's counterintuitive. If I'm chayiv for donkey erratic animals, erratic donkeys, I should definitely be chayiv for healthy donkeys. So the Gemara says, okay, Amr Rav Zer, loy mi bay kamer. No, you're really chayiv on both. Loy mi bay kamer, loy mi bay shar shu b'kech chayiv. This is how you're supposed to read the Mishnah. It's pashit that you're chayiv for a regular donkey. Aval shar cheresh shaita v'katan. The chiddush of the Mishnah is that you might think that if the ox is a cheresh shaita v'katan, emachar shu segar meloi, katnu segar meloi v'lifter. Maybe I shouldn't be chayiv because I would say, why am I responsible for that? That animal's deranged. It acts crazy. It fell into my pit because the donkey's an idiot. That's not my problem. Kamash mala, no, you're chayiv. So maybe you're chayiv on both. So right now our theory is that you're chayiv, it's pashit you're chayiv by a healthy donkey, but now we're saying you're even chayiv on a dumb donkey. The Gemara says, with this, it's a very nice pshat in the Mishnah, but there's a brisa. What does the brisa say? Nafal l'toich bar das potter. Brisa says that if a healthy donkey falls in your potter, my love shar bar das. That's what it means. So you're telling me that you're chayiv by both. That's not what the brisa says. The brisa says you're potter by a healthy donkey. Amrlei loy adam. No. It doesn't mean a healthy donkey. It means a healthy person. Okay, so you're telling me that. The brisa is saying if a person falls into a pit and he's healthy, you're potter. That implies that if a person falls into the pit and he's an idiot, you're chayiv. We said shar v'loy adam. The Gemara says elamiata adam ben dasu de potter hala ben dasu de chayiv shar v'loy adam. You're telling me you're telling me you're only potter by a person falling in if the person is healthy and smart. If the person's an idiot, you're chayiv. It says shar v'loy adam. Elamai ben das bein ben das. Okay, maybe it means a person. And why does it say that I'm potter if the person is healthy? It means whether he's healthy or not. But an animal, you're chayiv if it's a healthy animal. Here's the problem. Amar le hatanya, nafal teicha shar ben das potter. The brisa clearly states that if a healthy animal falls in your potter, you're telling me animals, you're always chayiv, whether it's a smart animal or a dumb animal. This brisa says you're potter if it's a smart animal. So the brisa says, okay, you're right. This is the pshat. Shar v'cheres, shar shu hoshta, shar shu katan dafka. I'm only chayiv if a dumb donkey or a child donkey or a deaf donkey falls in. Avol shar v'bikeich. But if it's a healthy donkey that falls into the pit, potter, I am potter. Why? My taima ibayil yunu mezel. Because that's not my fault. The donkey should have seen where it's going. If the healthy donkey falls into the pit, that is not my problem. So I'm potter if it's a healthy donkey. The Gemara says, Tanya mihachi. The Brisa similarly states, if a healthy donkey is walking during the day, so it could see the pit and falls in, not my problem. I am potter. Okay. It's a huh?
Like, kind of like the whole time that anyone thinks a boy, it's like, I've got to be thinking that there could be that one idiot out there. But the rest of the time, I'm Potter. Like, they're like, why do we even have a concept of ball then? It's
Like you're saying, why is the Torah sharing at all responsibility?
yeah.
I didn't know that the animals have brains.
I think for walking, I think you don't.
You know if the animal's smart enough.
Huh?
How would you know if it's smart enough? That
Oh, I guess you'd have to talk to the farmer, the owner.
I'm just going to say whatever to his advantage.
There used to be a TV.
That's a good
We all know
time.
the stupid donkeys in town.
That's a good time.
There used to be a really, really stupid.
That's a good
TV
time.
show in the early '60s called Mr. Ed.
I know.
Talking horse.
Of course I know it. We all knew it. Gavin, we all know it. You're not so special. We all knew my father was going to Mr. Ed. Bill him. Okay.
Yeah, but Billum is not your regular case. This is your regular stupid donkey.
Sure. I got you. Sorry, I have no idea. You're right. It's not what I would have thought. Okay, from here to the end of the daf, let me just explain to you what we're doing. It's very, very easy. It's a pasuk
This is
in.
the Gemara that the kids would have liked.
Yeah, this is fine. The rest of the Gemara is
How do you
fun.
know we're stupid?
Yeah, but the way you would be teaching it is like we would completely forget about all the drasha Gemaras and it would just be watching episodes of Mr. Ed. Let's go back there. So the Mishnah says like this: basically, you have certain concepts in the Torah where the Torah specifically identifies certain animals, and we're going to say in this Mishnah it includes all animals. Like the pasuk says shar v'chamar, but it doesn't have to be a shar v'chamar. It could be a dog, it could be a cat, it could be a bird. It's true with a lot of things. This Mishnah will list 7 halachas that it applies to all animals, not just. Let's go through each one. Echad shar v'echad kol behema. The truth is, these following halachas apply not just to shar, not to oxen. All animals are the same. For the first one is l'nafil sabar, regarding falling into a pit. We had that. Hafrosh is har Sinai, separating animals from har Sinai. Right? The pasuk says, make sure no animals come near the mountain when HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed himself. That is not specifically shar or chamar. All animals are inclusive. You're not allowed a dog near har Sinai.
What's the holiday?
Well, the pasuk says behema, mikol behema, mikol adam. So meaning, kol behema. The point of the chiddush, and the Gemara is going to explain. It's not chiddush, and the Gemara is going to explain. Behema doesn't just mean domesticated animal. All animals, birds, are included in behema as well. So all animals were restricted from going near Har Sinai by Mount Torah. Next one, tashumi kefil. You have to pay kefil. We know that when someone steals something, you have to not only return the object, you have to pay kefil. Kefil applies to all items, not just specific animals. All animals are inclusive. Hashavas aveda, returning a lost object, meaning don't think that you only have to return a seh, a sheep, whatever. All lost objects, including all animals, are inclusive. By the way, not just animals. The truth is non-animals as well, but definitely all animals. Prika, when it comes to removing a load, right? The pasuk says that if you see your friend's, I think it says donkey in the pasuk, if I'm not mistaken. Donkey. The pasuk says that if you see your friend's donkey and it has a big load on its back and it's in pain, you're obligated to take the load off the donkey's back. Tzar b'alechaim. The pasuk says donkey, but it includes an ox. All animals you'd have to take off the load. Oh, I mean more of a shkafic thing to take, it's more of like a therapy to take the load off a person, but halachically it's all animals.
You have to have a dog therapy.
Correct. No. Chasima, regarding muzzling, right? The halacha is that you're not allowed to muzzle an animal while it's threshing. It's considered tzar b'alechaim to muzzle an animal while it's threshing because it's seeing food all around it. It's not fair. Although the pasuk refers to oxen, because that's the most common animal to thresh. It could be anything. If you put a donkey, if you put a mule, a horse, a dog, cat, it doesn't matter. You're not allowed to muzzle it. All the halachas applies to all animals. Shabbos, regarding to Shabbos, right? The pasuk says v'amtecha. You're not allowed to have your animals work on Shabbos, right? It's not. You're not allowed to have animals work on Shabbos. It's a special issa deraisa uvehemtecha, right? We say it during Kiddush, right? Bincho uvetecha uvehemtecha v'gerech hashish b'sharecha, right? We say behemtecha. Behemtecha includes all animals. You're not allowed to have any of your animals do malacha on Shabbos. V'chein chayav oiv ki oitzben. All these 8 cases that we just had include all animals, chaya, and an oif. Im kain lamanem shamar chamar. Oh, so if it includes all animals, why does the pasuk give specific animals? A donkey, a shar, a chamar. The pasuk was always just picking the more common application. The pasuk said regarding muzzling regarding a load, a donkey, because donkeys usually carry more loads than other animals, but it doesn't have to be. The pasuk was just giving a common occurrence. What we're going to be doing from here until the end of the daf is just drushes. It's going to go through each one to include all animals. Okay, let's go through. I think there are 8. Let's go through number 1. Nafil Sabar regarding falling into a pit that includes all animals Yechayiv. Kesef Yashul Aleph called this Beibalim Kedamr, and that we just got finished saying in Amud Aleph. Kesef Yashul Aleph, that you have to pay for anything that people own, which is inclusive of all animals. Boom, so that includes all animals. Done. Number 2, Hafrashas Har Sinai, to separate by Har Sinai. How do I know that it applies to all animals? Because the pasuk says Memheim Mish Lo Yichya. The pasuk says you have to separate from Har Sinai a behema. And we know that inclusive of a behema is a chaya as well. Chaya are more wild, non-domesticated animals, like a buffalo or a deer. That's included in behema. Behema includes those as well. And im, how do I know birds? Im, the word im is l'rabas ha'oifis. So you got behema, chayin, and oif. That's the gambit of it. Okay, let's keep going. Tashlumi kefil. How do I know that kefil applies to all animals? Kidamrinon, as we say, this is we're going to say this in about 10 days. Al kol dvar pesha. You have to pay for any liability that you did. Klal kol dvar pesha. That includes anything that you stole. All animals. Hashavas Aveda. How do I know Hashavas Aveda applies to all animals? L'chol Aveda Zachicha ksiv. Chol Aveda Zachicha. Anything lost, that includes all animals. Prika. How do I know that you have to unload any struggling animal? It doesn't have to be a donkey, because it says chamar mishabes. It says chamar over here. It says chamar by Shabbos. Just like Shabbos includes all animals, you're not allowed to have any animal work for you. So too here you have to unload any animal. By the way, we have not learned out Shabbos yet, but basically learning out from Shabbos. We'll get to Shabbos. Once we learn out Shabbos, then retroactively you'll understand. Let's keep going. Chasima, you're not allowed to muzzle any animal that's threshing. How do I know? You'll shar mishabes. It says shar by threshing. It says shar by Shabbos. Just like Shabbos includes all animals, as we'll explain in a few moments. So too, this includes all animals. Let's keep going. Klayim, regard to the prohibition of klayim. Now, there's 2 klayim. Did I skip klayim in the Mishnah? Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. L'klayim l'shabbos. I apologize. I missed that in the Mishnah. Klayim. There's 2 different types of klayim. Okay, klayim means mixed breeding. Now, this could come in 2 forms. One, klayim can come. Here's some nuts. Klayim can come. No, I said my hair. Klayim can come in. You could have. You're not allowed to cross mate animals, like breeding. That includes all animals are prohibited. You're not allowed to cross a donkey and an ox and a dog and a bird, a dog and a cat. Also, another one is you're not allowed to have them plow together. You're not allowed to have 2 different animals pull a plow at the same time. That's also klayim. Both those klayims apply to all animals. Whatever type of climb it is, it applies to all animals. Let's go through each one. Look, climb. Well, which climb? E climb the charisha. If it's the climb of plowing, that you're not allowed to have different species plow at the same time, pull one plow. Y'all have shar Shabbos. That's linked that shar from Shabbos. It's a shar by plowing. It's a shar by Shabbos. Just like Shabbos inclusive of all animals, so too plowing as well. E climb the harba. And if it's climb of cross breeding, that's also y'all have behemtecha b'Shabbos. That's also linked out from Shabbos. This is all learned out from Shabbos, basically. The last 4 categories have been learned out from Shabbos. How do I know that by Shabbos it includes all animals? That I'm not allowed to have my donkey work for me on Shabbos. I'm not allowed to have my dog work for me on Shabbos. I don't know what the matzah would be. The dog click buttons. You're not allowed to have a dog work for you on Shabbos. So how do I know this? Gabi Shalos Minola. So the pasuk says like this, because the pasuk regarding pasuk. This is a pasuk. I think. This is in the second Aseres Adibris. It says, Shar and Chamar uvehemtecha. So, how do I know it includes all animals? So it says like this. Rabbi Yossi Mishum Rabbi Shmuel. B'dibris HaRishayin is Nemar, in the first Aseres Adibris, it says, Avdecha v'amascha uvehemtecha. Just as behema. Just a general term. B'dibris Achroinis, but in the second Aseres Adibris, it says, V'sharcha v'chamarcha v'chol behemtecha. So it says behemtecha, but notice, Sharcha is added, Chamarcha is added, and V'chol is added. So, Haloi Sharva Chamar. Let's just analyze the second Aseres Adibris. It says Sharcha, Chamarcha, Uvehemtecha. Let me ask you a question. Vehemtecha is inclusive. So why does the pasuk have to say sharcha v'chamarchu v'hamtecha? Just say uv'hamtecha. So haloi shar v'chamar b'chlal kol behema hayu v'lama yatzu. So why does the pasuk say sharcha v'chamarchu uv'hamtecha v'chol v'hamtecha? Just say v'chol v'hamtecha. Ma shar v'chamar ha'omer kan chayev ha'oiv ki yaitz ben av kol chayev yaitz b'oivken. The pasuk is adding shar v'chamar for drushes, just like over here shar v'chamar is included of v'chol v'hamtecha. So too by klayim, so too by other areas, as we just got finished saying, those are extra for drushes. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. So you're telling me by Shabbos it includes all animals because it's a shar v'chamar uv'chol b'hamtecha. It's inclusive. Why don't you do this? Ne'ema behema the dibris rishon is klal. It says the word behema by the first haseres dibris. That's a klal. And then it says shar v'chamar dibris achron is prat. And then it specifies it in the second haseres dibris. Go klal prat from one haseres dibris to the S. To the. So I guess I've never seen this before. But klal and prat from one haseres dibris to the next.
Because it's the same story.
It's not the same story. It's just that it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They both said by Hashem, I guess, B'di
Saying
Barachim.
in the first says the Matthias is different. We weren't including these, and that just before we.
Well, we're asking that. No, we're asking if it's klal and then a prat, and then retroact. Meaning, it's interesting because like klal and prat, like from like.
Well, we're jumping
in time also. The Gemara says klal and prat in mechal mashur prat. When you have a klal and a prat, you go with the specifics, and the prat is shar v'chamar in midachrin eloi. How do you mean, basically, why don't you make a klal and a prat to only make it that Shabbos is only a problem by shar and chamar? The answer is, Amri, v'chol b'hamtecha, the dibras achron is chazar klal. The answer is, it's not a klal and a prat, it's a klal and a prat and a klal. Klal is the first aseres dibras. The second aseres dibras shar v'chamar, prat, and then it says, uv'chol b'hamtecha, klal. Klal prat to klal, yeah, then it's inclusive. The klal prat to klal, you say that it's inclusive, but it's similar to the specification. Just like the specification is a donkey and a shar, which is living animals, so too it's all living animals.
Would you say there's a hefsek between the entire Torah?
I guess not. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know.
Can we do that with the others?
No, I've never.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting. To do this with Shabbos as well. Shabbos is different. Kibbutz Avim is slightly different. I don't know. It's very interesting. So the Gemara says, so basically we're saying a klal prat and a klal, and the klal prat to klal is to include all animals, meaning shar v'chamar is the prat, so just like shar v'chamar are animals, so too it has to be an animal. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. Ema, we had this before. Ma prat mefurish davish and v'lasei, but matam magu masa, I've called davish and v'lasei tam magu masa, avaloifus. Maybe if it's klal prat to klal and shar v'chamar, it has to be like a shar v'chamar, that it's an animal that contaminates, which is to exclude birds. Right? If you have a klal and a prat to klal, and the klal and prat to klal is based on shar v'chamar, that should exclude birds. So maybe there's no isser of having a bird do malacha for you on Shabbos. So the Gemara says, no, Amri imkei nichtav rachmana chad prat. We had this mamish earlier, that the reason I include birds is because the pasuk could have given one example, shar or a chamar. The fact that it picked both is to include birds. Because it could have just written shar, and it could have just written chamar. The fact that it picks both is to include birds. The Gemara says, it could not have written just one. Which one? If it just wrote chamar, I would say because the chamar has a pidin chamar. If it just had shar, I'd say because that's a kosher animal. So the Gemara says, hanich l'rachmana. Ikazar rachmana shar hava mina karva gamis be'echin. Shena karva zachloi. Kasar rachmana char. Because of Rachmana Chamar, Hava Mina Kaddish B'chayr in Shekadosh Chayr Loi. So basically, maybe it's to exclude birds. The answer is Ella B'chol V'Amtecha Ribahu. The answer is forget it. It's not a Klal Prat and Klal. Klal is the first Aseres Dibris. Second Aseres Dibris has Shar V'Chamar, which is a Prat, and then we said Klal V'chol B'Hamtecha. V'chol B'Hamtecha is not a Klal and Prat and Klal. It's a Ribui. It's more inclusive than a klal and prat to klal. It includes everything. It includes all animals. Meaning, when you say the words v'chol behemtecha, don't go klal and prat to klal. Go riboy. Go bigger. So it includes all animals and all birds. Quick problem with this. You're telling me the words v'chol behemtecha are not part of klal prat to klal because it's too inclusive. By meiser, we have the word kol, and it is part of a klal and prat to klal. So the Gemara says v'chol heicha dekasar rachamana kol ribahu. So you're telling me because it says v'chol behemtecha, it can't be limited to a klal or prat to klal. It's more inclusive. But by meiser is in meiser like tithing, not like meiser money. Meiser, it says the word kol, and that's part of a klal and prat to klal. So I thought kol is so inclusive, it can't be limited. The Gemara says, the pasuk says you'll use ma'aser sheni money to buy any food that you desire. That's klal. That's very generalization. This is talking about using ma'aser sheni money to what you can buy. So first it says anything you want, inclusive. Then it says bakar tzayin yain shecher. You could buy animals, wine, beer. That's specification. Anything your heart desires. V'chol. So it says it's a klal prat klal, and it says kol. So the word kol is part of a klal prat klal.
I'm sorry. We're talking now about what's the Gemara?
The Gemara is asking that we're saying the reason why we're not making a klal prat klal to exclude birds by Shabbos is because v'chol v'hemtecha is too inclusive. It can't be limited to a klal prat klal. It's a riboy. It's more than that. The problem is that by meiser it says the word kol, and it is part of a klal prat klal. It's not more inclusive. The Gemara says, Chazor v'klal, klal prat klal by meiser, iyat adenachin a prat, ma prat meforish pri begedule karka, I've called mepri begedule karka. The pasuk tells you that it's inclusive of all foods, but it has to be similar to wine and beer and fruit and animals, which is to exclude water and truffles. The point is, it has a klal prat klal, and it has the word kol. So how come you don't do that by Shabbos? Oh, v'chol b'emtecha is so inclusive. The kol, it says, the kol ashetav anavshecha.
We're not comparing the two.
No, we're just...
We're talking about now just about b'chlal within Meiser.
Yeah, but it's based on the discussion that we had regarding the Aseret Dibros. So the Gemara says, Amri, bichol klala, kol riboy. The answer is, by Shabbos, it says, v'chol b'emtecha. By Meiser, it says, u'bichol. U'bichol, with a base, that's not so big. That's klal prat klal. V'chol, without the base, very big. Can't be limited to a klal prat klal. Or another answer, Ibaisema, kol nami klalahu, or really no, forget that. Really, kol is inclusive. Miuhai kol dehacha riboyhu, midahav lev michtav, uvehemtecha, the answer is, or forget that. The word kol is really generally part of a klal prat klal. Then how come by Shabbos we don't do a klal prat klal? By Aseret Rishonos, the Aseret Dibros Rishonos, what did it say? Uvehemtecha. By the Dibros Achronos, what does it say? V'chol behemtecha. It's not just that the word v'chol is there; it's that it could have used the same word and it chose not to. The fact that the pasuk did not say the same klal generalization lashon. By the first one it says uvehemtecha. By the second one it says v'chol behemtecha. It's not just the word kol. It's the word kol, and that it's different from the Dibros Rishonos. That's the Torah way of saying, make this big. Don't limit it to a klal prat klal, and therefore it includes birds as well. Now let's just finish up. So basically, how do I know that by Shabbos? How do I know that it's inclusive of all animals by Shabbos? So we thought at first it was a klal and a prat and a klal. Forget that. Uvechol behemtecha. That's it. That's all you got to know. Uvechol behemtecha is huge. All animals, all living animals. Let me ask you a question though. If uvechol behemtecha is on its own game winner, then why do I need on the Dibros Harishonos, what's the lashon? Dibros Harishonos uvehemtecha is extra. Dibros Achronos v'sharcha v'chamarcha is now extra. If you're telling me that v'chol behemtecha on its own, and the second one is enough, then now the word from the first one is extra, and from the second, sharcha v'chamarcha is also extra.
We're just doing ribu. We forget the kol prat.
Correct. Once you're forgetting the kol prat, then the words that we're going to use in the kol prat are now extra.
But see, it was different. We didn't have uvachol in the first set.
Correct, but now that we have uvachol memtecha in the second, to include all animals, what is uvahemtecha necessary in the first, and what is sharcha v'chamarcha necessary in the first?
Uvachol in the second, not involved the whole first set.
Correct.
So now apply it.
Correct. So now the question is, what do you learn from those?
Nothing. We moved on. We got a new set.
No.
It's a redo.
No. First of all, even if you're right that we redo, like you're assuming the Torah was written like chronologically, like as we went on, like we no longer need that, but we assume everything in the Torah is still nitzchi. But also more than that, in the second set it says v'sharcha v'chamorcha u'b'chol be'emtecha. Sharcha v'chamorcha is b'chlal extra now.
Wait, so this, I understand.
Not to include birds, no. But then birds weren't included. The Metzias was different.
But now,
the world changed.
But no, but one within that pasuk is a sharcha v'chamarcha uv'chol be'emtecha. Uv'chol be'emtecha is included.
birds.
No, but it's to include birds. No, it includes birds.
We are
No,
learning birds in
no,
the
no.
second.
Yeah, I'm talking in the second. There's 2 points. There's the first. Put that aside, and then in the second, the pasuk says sharcha chamarcha uv'chol be'emtecha. V'chol be'emtecha is now all you need. So now, what do you need the 2 words before that for? They're completely unnecessary. And also, dibros rishonis, the word behemtech is also extra. Now you're saying we moved on from that. The Torah doesn't work like that.
Metzias changed.
I don't think the Gemara likes that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is including birds.
Correct.
Right? We're talking about falling into pits. We're not talking about anything else.
No, this is Shabbos. Back to Shabbos. This is Shabbos. Doing malach on Shabbos.
I
So
didn't know.
I don't know. We didn't go back. Just Shabbos. We learned that from things from Shabbos, but we're going Shabbos. So basically, like this. So how do you know? So now that you know b'chol be'emtecha is a ribui, what do you need be'emtecha from the first severes dibros rishonis, and what do you need sharcha v'chamarcha for? So the Gemara says this is all the drushes that we had before. Do you remember when we did the Gemara? We said like, how do you know klayim? Shabbos. How do you know this? Shabbos. Those words are now extra to make drushes. The Gemara says, Amri shar lagmuri shmar shar l'chasima. Chamar lagmuri chamar leprika. Behemtecha lagmuri behemtecha b'techa l'klayim. All those are all extra to make drushes for other things. Ihachi, if that's the case, afilu adam litza. Let's end with this. Now that you're telling me that when it comes to, let's say, plowing, right? We're learning out the isser of plowing 2 animals together is learned out from Shabbos. Are you allowed to be Mechal Shabbos, a person? No. So maybe it should be that a person is also not allowed to plow with an animal, right? If you're learning out the isser of mixed breeding plowing from Shabbos, so then why can't it be that there's an isser of me walking with, holding a thresher with a donkey? It should be usser. Mixed breeds. It's not usser. Why not? You're learning out from Shabbos. On Shabbos, are you allowed to do malacha? No. Is your donkey allowed to do malacha? No. So it should be also as well. The Gemara says, "Yihachi afilu adam litzer, alama tanan adam muter imkul lachash. You're allowed. A person's allowed to. Why? So the Gemara answers, "Amra Papa, Papuna yad time by milsa." The people from Papuna know the answer. Umar Ravacha bar Yaakov. Now, Ravacha bar Yaakov, I guess, came from that place. Amar Kra, the pasuk says, "Laman yanuach avducha v'amascha kamaycha." The pasuk says that on Shabbos, you and your animals, you and your slaves. Should rest like the animals. I'm just comparing you to an animal regarding resting on Shabbos, not regarding Klayim. The pasuk is specifically saying that Klayim do not learn that aspect from Shabbos.
It's only the people from Papua.
Correct.
I don't think.